My guest today is Tom Billington, CEO of Billington Cybersecurity. I'm Tom Temin. And Tom, this is your 10th year producing the Billington Cybersecurity Summit. What are the trends you're seeing? What's compelling at the summit and what you're seeing in the world of cyber today, here in 2019?
Sure. Thank you, Tom, very much for having me on. I'd say there are some major trends that are occurring in our industry. I just back from Black Hat, DEF CON, and beside, and saw how dynamic the industry is and how dynamic many of the adversaries are in that we need to be sure to be vigilant in protecting against. The 10th summit for this year will have a number of trends that we'll be focusing on, supply chain being a major one. There's very recently an executive order that focused on supply chain. There'll be a task force report that'll be finished this summer. That's a major topic. Critical infrastructure protection is another major trend. Obviously, artificial intelligence and machine learning is a third. And the fourth is the important role that our international allies play, particularly Israel, the UK, Canada, and Australia, sort of our Five Eye partners, plus a number of allied partners.
Sure, and getting back to the Black Hat and DEF CON conference, those are pretty much where the industry gets together every year. Right. And also in the last couple of weeks, as this was going on, some big dangers came out. Some new malware came out and all sorts of reports on how to deal with it. So the basic zero-day issue is still very much part of the cybersecurity scene.
It is, very much so, Tom. Just as one example, I saw an example of a HVAC system, which was, they discovered a key vulnerability in part of that could lead to some dangerous consequences for instance, a hospital. So the critical infrastructure is a key aspect in this, and I think a key priority for CISA, for the NSA, and is one reason.
CISA being the renamed Homeland Security Department agency.
Correct, yes. So yeah, there were about tens of thousands of people at this Las Vegas series of events, and it underscores again the dynamism of this industry and why this summit that's focused on the federal side and our international allies is so important.
And you mentioned artificial intelligence, machine learning. What's the cyber issue connected with that? Right.
So the key issue is how to harness AI and ML for cybersecurity. The fact is that there are too few people and qualified experts in cybersecurity. This can't be solved by human means alone. So we have to find out a way that computationally and through using our artificial intelligence that we can address this issue. So, for instance, we're going to have a panel featuring General Shanahan, who is the head of the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, addressing this issue. But also, there's also vulnerability that can underlie this topic if it's overlaid on a fundamentally insecure system.
Sure, so there's the use of AI in finding cyber threats. There's also the cybersecurity threat against AI systems themselves, as you say, when they're applied to existing systems or when they themselves are not developed in a secure way.
Correct, right. And so it's there's great interest. DARPA itself committed to about $2 billion in funding. There's an executive order, as you know, earlier in the year. And the JAIC has been set up to address a number of the topics you just outlined so well, Tom.
And the supply chain area, that started out as an issue for the DoD. I think a couple of years ago, maybe 4 years ago, there was a cybersecurity imperative put into one of the National Defense Authorization Acts. Right. But it's really become a government-wide issue, hasn't it?
It has. It's a topic that really, as you've seen through the ban on Huawei, the focus from the National Risk Management Center that Bob Kolaski runs, it's at DHS, at the DoD. It's an industry-wide issue and one that very much impacts every company, particularly large ones with vast supply chains themselves.
So this is something really that is getting to the summit. We'll talk about the summit more in detail, but it's not simply the cybersecurity companies or even the cybersecurity practitioners alone that should be involved and aware of all of these developments, but also people, say, in acquisition, people contracting officers, and people even in marketing and sales for components that the government might buy.
Exactly. And there's some important initiatives going on that Katie Arrington has announced and is leading at the DoD side. And there are, it's a huge issue. It's one that is being addressed and is I think a top priority among the speakers who'll be coming to our event.
It strikes me this is an issue where industry and government can really cooperate, because the suppliers to industry are the suppliers to government. It's the same supply chain players.
Right, it is, and the industry plays a critical role here, particularly with government, because, as you say, the supply chain goes far down and is you're only as strong as your weakest link in the supply chain. So it's critical to fortify every link as best you possibly can. And so it's, from my talks, over the course of 10 years, it's one of the most consistent discussion points and areas of concern along with the cyber workforce.
All right, we're speaking with Tom Billington. He's CEO of the Billington Cybersecurity Summit and Billington Cybersecurity. I'm Tom Temin. We'll be right back.